By making one change to your tattoo designs, you can make all of your line work 10 times easier. When I first started tattooing, I struggled with line work hard. One of the things that I did before I actually started using the proper machine was I actually changed the way that I drew to make it a lot easier to tattoo. So if you see on my iPad here, this is just like an eagle design that I drew. You can see the way that I've drawn these clouds. Okay, I've done it in a very specific way that makes it much less stressful to tattoo. Now, I don't really need to do this anymore, but it's just kind of a habit that's sort of stuck after years of doing it. You'll see how these clouds, when I've drawn them, they've got all these little bumps in them, all these little jagged edges, right? It makes it look a lot more organic, and it also adds a ton of contrast. When it comes to doing a good tattoo, contrast is, one of the absolute core foundational things you absolutely need to master to create awesome designs. And contrast isn't just like colors and values and things like that, but it can also be line weights and textures and straight lines versus, like crooked and like jagged lines, okay? Contrast is just, two things that look dramatically different that are next to each other to make them separate. By having a lot of straight lines in the design in the background, by having a lot of jagged lines, it makes the design pop, right? Plus, when I do these clouds, because I've got all these jagged lines to them, if I ever go off this stencil when I'm tattooing it, it is so easy to just get back on track and do the rest of the cloud, and it looks intentional. Okay, especially with these little thin lines here. When you're doing these for like, a 3-liner or maybe even a 5, oftentimes when you're starting out, it's kind of hard to get a really nice clean line with those needles because any tiny little wobble is so visible when you tattoo it. But again, if you're doing, really organic looking sort of jagged lines, any mistakes, they look intentional and it doesn't ruin the piece. If you look at normal, like traditional clouds, they're like perfect semicircles. And it's actually very difficult to execute if you don't know what you're doing. And I do this all throughout my designs. You can see like in these little scale feathers that I've got here, I've got these tiny little bumps all throughout. Like it gives it sort of a rougher, more tougher look. It looks like this eagle has been in like a couple of like fights or whatever, and just adds a bit more character to the piece. And it makes it a shitload easier to tattoo. So if you found this helpful and you're learning how to tattoo and you'd like to get some more drawing tips like these ones, follow our page. We're dropping new content every single week.